1 trillion has been lost from the aggregate crypto market. While there has been much larger percentage drawdowns for both Bitcoin and the aggregate market in the past, this marks the second largest ever decline in dollar terms for both. For context, of course, it's not like cryptocurrency is the only sort of investment area that's doing poorly. The Dow hardly had a good day, and investments overall in the US stock market have been doing poorly so far this year. But that's a pretty big decline in a week or even just in a couple month period, Francesca.
Yeah, and what's crazy is how, I mean, yay, but also how it's linked to like places like Kazakhstan, where now like 18% of the world's Bitcoin is mined since like China kicked out Bitcoin mining, and the government of Kazakhstan is facing huge protests in that country over electricity outages and shortages. And we know how much electricity it takes to mine Bitcoin. I wonder if one has to do with the other. So it's almost like this is not the currency of the future. You know how it like relies on fossil fuels and causes mayhem in second and third world countries. Anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And look, I understand as soon as we start talking about crypto, people who are familiar with the show and me and stuff are like, oh, John, he's not gonna be like down for crypto, which is it's true. I'm worried about people losing everything because they're desperate,
jealous.
and I am just jealous. Yeah, no, I am barley biased. I grew up incredibly poor. I am very suspicious of anything like this that I feel fundamentally is being marketed to regular people as maybe the last remaining way they can ever strike it big, because so many of the traditional ways of growing wealth have been choked to death over the last few decades, but in the end appear to only benefit the already wealthy. That is my fear. And I am not saying that there's not money to be made here. Some people are gonna buy the dip right now, and if it goes up, in theory, they might make money, but I would remind you, what money are they making? They're making the money of the people who sell as it go down. The people who have lost the money transfer their money to a few people who can afford to weather these unstable times. And if you're one of these desperate individuals, you probably are not set up financially to weather for 6 months or a year or potentially longer these sorts of dips. And what, really fast. When I go on social media, the stuff I see about this just makes me even more cautious. Constant tweets and memes like this, don't panic sell, you will regret selling in a few days, with memes and stuff like that. And you can always expect gifts like this, newbies in the crypto world, and then they have a fun meme about them staying strong and diamond hands and all that. A lot of people are going to lose everything, and they're not talking the way, like if this was a rational investment that should naturally grow over time, you'd talk a certain way about it. I don't think that's the way most people are talking about it. They're talking about it like it's a scam that they're gonna beat. More like gambling than anything else, but that's just my uneducated opinion. Anyway, Francesca, as always, I wanna thank you for joining us on Fantastic Mondays. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I can't miss a Fantastic Monday because that'd be weird, right?
It would be weird unless we find another Fran. We should look just in case. Should people go and check out this latest episode of the Bituation Room? How'd it go?
Yeah, they absolutely should. It was great. We talked about communities in the Gulf Coast, basically sticking it to the fossil fuel companies and trying to get off the grid, the electricity grid, and use renewables. So listen to that. We also assessed Biden's 1 year in office.
Ooh.
And as a reminder, everybody come out to the show in Brooklyn on March 10th if you can. Get tickets. You can go to my bio at Frannyville, or follow me wherever at Frannyville, or go to the Bell House website and they'll sell them there.
Sounds good, everyone check it out. And thank you for watching. Don't go anywhere though. Indisputable Dr. Rashad Ritchie and Aida Rodriguez is coming up as we continue through an awesome day of our now stronger and bigger and thicker TYT schedule of shows on a daily basis. It's true, take it up with the schedule. Anyway, also top 10 coming. So for our members, watch out for that. And until next time, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. I'll see you soon.
All right, welcome. Excuse me. It is indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Richard. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Joining me, breaking down news of the day, none other than comedian and Fighting Words on HBO, star host of Truth Serum, Aida Rodriguez is on the program. How are you, Aida?
I'm good. It's Ida.
Ida, excuse me. My apologies, sister.
No,
Ida, and you know I know that. Aida Rodriguez is on the show. Thank you. Also, Joe Collins III is coming back for, I don't know why he's back, but he's in the bullpen and he's going to debate me about voting rights in the United States of America. I guess he's on the other side of that discussion. Okay, top story of the day. There's a mother who threatened to bring loaded guns to a school, and I assume start shooting people. Here's the video.
No mask mandates. My children will not come to school on Monday with a mask on. All right, that's not happening. And I will bring every single gun loaded and ready to, I will call every.
That's 3 minutes. You've gone past your time. It's a policy. Thank you.
I'll see y'all on Monday.
Yeah, that's called a threat, right? That's a terroristic threat. So here's what's ironic about this whole thing. Number one, once again, this is about mask mandates inside of school systems. We have already settled this. Schools have the ability, the authority to implement common sense administrative law, from dress codes to vaccination requirements, also to mask protocols or mask mandates inside of their school system. So this particular parent decided to threaten bodily harm by way of bullets to children, or I guess administrators and teachers, if there's a mask policy in the school, rather than just take her child out of school if she has that kind of disagreement with the policy. She's going to bring a loaded gun and see them on Monday. Well, that person has in fact been arrested, but there's some more background to the story. I do find it really, really ironic also that when she said that she was going to go to the ultimate and say, I'm bringing a gun on Monday, you'll see me on Monday. When they told her her 3 minutes was up, she was not willing to speak 1 second over her 3 minutes. I mean, she didn't violate the 3-minute rule, but she's willing to unlawfully bring a gun on a school campus, but she shut the hell up after 3 minutes. That 1 second over. All right. The Luray Police Department charged that particular woman who made a perceived threat at Thursday night's Page County School Board meeting. According to police, Amelia King, 42, was charged with a violation of the Code of Virginia 18-2-60, or threat while on school property. All right, it fits the crime. They could have upped those charges, but they decided to leave it at that. Throughout the day on Friday, the police department worked with Page County Sheriff's Office to investigate the incident, contacted both national and state agencies to determine how to best move forward. Now, I want to remind you of this. This is really interesting. Now, understand the privilege that's already involved. This woman makes a threat, a terroristic threat, to bring a loaded gun to a school and shoot people. Okay, she makes the threat. She makes the threat on public record. The threat is recorded. And instead of arresting her immediately, instead of filing charges of terroristic threats and other, she was given the benefit of all of these law enforcement agencies calling each other, trying to figure out what's the best way to go, how to arrest her, what to charge her with. And it ended up being significantly lighter than what many believed it to warrant. So the police chief, C.S. Bo Cook, says that after consulting with state police and thoroughly reviewing the Virginia Code, the department determined that charging Ms. King with a misdemeanor violation was the appropriate course of action. I mean, damn, y'all are being real thoughtful about this charge. I mean, I'm accustomed to the police coming in, charging the person with everything they can, charging the person with the felony statute, the misdemeanor statute, and allowing their defense attorney to be thoughtful about how to proceed in a court of law. But instead, the police decided to be thoughtful on behalf of Ms. King. How nice of them for being this thoughtful about someone who has threatened to kill children and members of the faculty. The Page County Board met Thursday night to vote in favor of Governor Glenn Youngkin's executive order making mask a choice for students. Once again, back to mask. During the public comment period, King said, No mask mandates. My children will not come to school on Monday with a mask on, all right? That's not happening, and I will bring every single gun loaded and ready. She's out. It was a light bond, $5,000, 10%. You pay a few $100, you go home. Aida, what are your thoughts here?
My thoughts are, can you imagine if that would have been me?
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I think you pointed out that she stopped at the 3 minutes. But the funny thing to me is that she issued a threat, and that was the violation of the day, that she could not go over the 3 minutes. Right. And I was like, if I would have said that, everybody would have jumped up. They'd have been like, wait a minute now, she just threatened us. I just think it's interesting to see, what if Khalif Browder would have had that same treatment? Or just, there are so many people, Black people and people of color who I could name that have never been extended the courtesy. Baby Tamir Rice wasn't extended any courtesy. And this woman, and yes, I'm gonna bring up the people who have been wrongfully murdered by the police, because they are never given the benefit of the doubt. But this woman who went into a place, who is having a temper tantrum because they don't want to follow the rules, because they've never been accustomed to following the rules, because they're always cloaked in their privilege. And they're like, why do we have to follow the rules now? Why is this happening to us now? She's having a temper tantrum because some people don't want kids to bring home the coronavirus that could potentially kill somebody who's immune compromised or elderly. And we don't know, because the information changes daily, true. So everybody is trying to protect theirs, and she doesn't want to do it because she's selfish, she's self-centered, she's pompous, and she's privileged. And that is the reason why I don't give those people a break. I won't cut them a break. People are like, why are you always going in? These white women who call themselves allies sometimes, they all belong to this group where they get to straddle between being oppressed and oppressors. And that's why I can't rock with it. She should be in jail.
Yeah.
She should be in jail. She doubled down on the thread too. When she said, see you on Monday, that was the double down.
That was a double down, and there's definitely a felony statute that would have applied. They decided not to allocate the felony statute to Ms. King. But I do find it interesting that, number one, nobody on the school board flinched. Nope. Nobody looked shocked. Nobody said, oh my gosh, wait a minute, are you threatening to kill children and faculty? Nobody flinched. Why? Because that kind of privilege has become normative in those arenas. So nobody flinched on the school board. They just said, ma'am, your 3 minutes are up. That's the policy, that's it. She just threatened to kill everybody on Monday. And then number two, there's a big difference between an individual health crisis and a public health crisis. If you have an individual health crisis, there's a different response to what's called a public health crisis. During a public health crisis, we have to now make decisions for the public good, not just the individual's sake. So if you feel as if the rights of your individual child are being violated because of a public health issue, then you can withdraw your individual child from their school system. We have decency rules, not only for adults, but also for kids. There's certain things they can and cannot wear inside of the school system. That's for age appropriateness inside of their school system. Well, nobody has argued if school systems have the ability to tell a child, you cannot express yourself with this kind of clothing. We have always held school systems to be well within their authority to do so. All right, so just some things to point out.
And also the number of children with coronavirus has gone up, and they're being hospitalized. Here in California, they just released some information this morning about how the numbers of children being hospitalized for coronavirus. So regardless of where you think it came from, how much it's been politicized, we all can attest to it being real and that it is deadly for some people. So until that is no longer a fact, that we need to do whatever we need to do to protect ourselves.
Very well said, and I will end the segment on this point, and I'm glad you brought it up. So many people would start saying things like the China virus or the pandemic, right? It's like being concerned about where the fire started in the middle of evacuating the home. We're trying to get the hell up out of the house. The fire doesn't care where it came from. You're in the line of it and it will harm you. So we can do all of this at the end of it. Once the fire is out, you can do all of the exhaustive investigation you choose to. But in the middle of the fire, we need to get the hell up out the house. Okay, there was a defeat the mandates rally, right? A defeat the mandates rally. Now, remember, the executive order from Biden was not a mandate, it was a protocol. It allowed for multiple exemptions, including testing out, religious exemption, philosophical difference exemption, and a medical exemption, not a mandate. Democrats did a horrible job messaging this, but it was not a mandate. And while they're jumping around saying the Supreme Court won, it was a win for the conservatives. No. Supreme Court actually upheld that the federal government has the authority to mandate vaccinations. It just had a category that was allowable. The US military already is included in that. Now healthcare workers are included in that, and that may actually expand. But still, that doesn't stop, let not the truth stop you from a good narrative. So the narrative of this rally was to defeat mandates, okay? Thousands of anti-vaxxers descended upon DC this Sunday for a rally against vaccine mandates. Speakers who attended ranged from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And others. It was quite interesting. So here's what I want to do. Let me remind you of the mindset of individuals who are involved in these types of protests and rallies. Here's one video.
We are fighting a war. It's a war on our health. It's a war that's been going on for decades, and it's waged by the pharmaceutical industry. They have always put profits before patients. That toll has been heavy over the decades. It is now a crime against humanity. We've known now for 2 years that there are cheap, safe, highly effective, and widely available medicines that can treat this disease. We are in a war of information. That's why we need you. We have to get this critical information out to save people. People are dying. They are killing us with censorship and propaganda. They are manipulating the minds of millions. Most of the healthcare system, many of my fellow physicians are completely brainwashed into believing that there is no treatment.
All right, so based on clinical trial studies, that information is readily available to the public. One of the things supported by this rally was ivermectin. Once again, clinical trials show it does not prevent nor effectively treat COVID-19. This is based on clinical trial studies, peer-reviewed research. However, that has not stopped legislation, which we're going to get to later, and politicians saying that it does. Now, let me remind you also, these are the same people that said things like this.
When the war starts, I will put a bullet in your ass, just for the press. Really? You're goddamn right. When this starts, you're dead. I will kill anybody that's got press on them because they started
this. This supposed Army veteran said he'll put a bullet in the press because it's the press's fault. Let me remind everyone of the great irony of this entire line of thinking. Many of these individuals will say that they are for choice, that they simply want to give people the freedom to choose. But as soon as someone disagrees with them on an ideological, political, or medical point, they are now saying that they want to kill you, that they would like to take away your freedom to choose. If you do not think like them, you are somehow un-American, non-patriotic, that you are worthy of death in the United States of America. What they're selling you is a bill of goods. They're trying to make everybody think like they think. They are afraid of free thinkers. They are afraid of open thought, and they are terrified of actual dialogue and facts. But as you see routinely, they continue to have massive crowds in this country and frankly beyond. Aida, thoughts?
I mean, I'm gonna just say, I don't remember any rally for those Americans in Tuskegee who were wronged by the American government. I don't see any rallies. I don't see rallies for any of those Americans who helped build this country. And I'm gonna keep talking about this racial inequity and that these white people, right? not all white people, but these white people are having a temper tantrum because now they don't feel like they are exempt from they're exempt from the rules. And it's just a big temper tantrum. And again, I will repeat, if that was you telling somebody that you would put a bullet in the head of the press and that video went viral, they will find out where you live and they will send federal agents to your house to arrest you. But we have lost our way. People talk about this country with this exceptionalism about America. America is a hot mess right now. The politicians, all of them, and I don't mean every single one of them. I mean from all political sides are participating in these games, and they don't realize that a lot of these people have mental health issues because our mental health system in this country sucks. These people are not balanced individuals. A lot of these people also are violent and dangerous. And they laugh at this stuff, but people who go in and shoot theaters and shoot elementary schools and shoot churches look like that person that you just heard. And we have to stop taking that stuff lightly because that is the kind of stuff that then later manifests, and then we act like we didn't know where it came from. We act like, oh, what happened?
Well, guess what's happening now? Lawmakers are trying to pass laws that would allow individuals to get ivermectin, the great conservative hope, ivermectin without having a doctor's approval. This is fascinating and telling of our political climate right now. Let me take it to New Hampshire, okay? New Hampshire residents may soon be able to get ivermectin from the pharmacist without first getting a prescription or approval from a doctor. This is new legislation, just hit, proposed legislation titled House Bill 1022. Remember that. House Bill 1022 would allow pharmacists to dispense the drug, which some believe can treat COVID-19, even though it lacks approval for such use from the US Food and Drug Administration by means of standing orders. Under the law, now watch what they did, watch how they did this, very slick. Under the law, pharmacists would be able to dispense ivermectin under the delegated prescriptive authority of the physician or advanced practice registered nurses. Specify a mechanism to document screening performed and the prescription in the patient's medical record, and include a plan for evaluating and treating adverse events. That's according to the bill, all right? That's wording in the bill. It then says, any such prescription shall be regarded as being issued for a legitimate medical purpose in the usual course of professional practice. Now, keep in mind, they're changing the entire law in order to do this. The pharmacist would also be required to provide any patients who receive ivermectin with a standardized information sheet written in plain English that provides healthcare referral information and notes the importance of follow-up care. Now, here's the great irony of this law. Noting on the information sheet shall discourage, watch this, recipients from using ivermectin for the treatment of COVID-19, the bill read. All right, I gotta pause on this point because it's very important. Literally, to cover their ass, they're going to make pharmacists say, hey, this is really discouraged to treat COVID-19. Why? Because they know the science. They know it doesn't. They know it doesn't work. And the entire genesis of this bill is because Republicans, conservative, Trumpites have said, we want ivermectin. And we want it specifically to treat COVID-19. The lawmakers are not being genuine with you when they say, okay, we're gonna give it to you, but we're gonna make the pharmacists tell you that it's not to treat COVID-19 so that you can't sue us when you die from it. That's what this is about. You don't believe me? Listen to what the sponsor of the bill said. Republican State Representative Leah Cushman, a sponsor of the bill and a registered nurse, told Newsweek that she wanted to make sure residents of the state have options for treatment of COVID-19.
Yeah.
She just told you what it's for. She wants Republicans in particular to have this option for the treatment of COVID. She said that on the record. And then in the bill, it says, not for the treatment of COVID, right? And a pharmacist has to create a document to tell you that, but it's the opposite of what the lawmakers are doing it for. The FDA, once again, has not approved ivermectin for the treatment or prevention of COVID-19 in both humans and animals, according to his website. It is, however, approved for human use to treat infections caused by parasitic worms and head lice and skin conditions. That's what it's used to treat, and they know it. All right, Aida, I'm sorry. The hypocrisy of these damn politicians for creating a law that they know can kill people and already has hospitalized loads of people, and they cover their own ass in the wording of the bill just so they can't get sued. It pisses me off.
I know, because you care about people and you have common sense. And you know those parents that have unruly children, but they don't want to be embarrassed, or they just do give them whatever they want. That's what these politicians are doing.
That's a good point.
Nobody insults the base more than the people who they follow. All of those people will speak against vaccines, but they're all vaccinated. They just continue to do that. You know what? We talk about hustling as selling drugs on the street of the neighborhoods that like I came from, and many people like me come from. The biggest hustle in this country is in Washington, D.C.
Oh yeah.
Those people, those lobbyists are getting it in. If you see this happening, it's because these people are trying to win an election and they're trying to get back in that White House, and they're gonna do whatever it takes and whoever it costs to make it happen, because they don't care about these people. And it's obvious that they don't care because the vaccination rate in the red states are low with right wingers, and they are dying at a greater rate than the people that are leftists, right? But it's just interesting to me to see how they will do whatever it takes to just appease these people, even if it is at their own expense. And that's where we are now. They are so preoccupied with the dollar, the companies that they're getting paid by. That's why you need to investigate the people who you vote for, the people in your state, in your local community, and see who their affiliations and their ties are with, and who's putting money in their pockets. Because usually when they're getting money put in their pockets, that is not in your best interest as a constituent. That's usually why they have to pay them to get whatever they want to get going, because it's usually not in the best interest of the person that of the voter.
I concur completely. All right, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable, a stick and stay.
You know what the progressive movement needs? It needs a little energy, a little pizzazz, maybe a little caffeine. Oh, coffee. But what if it was Too Strong Coffee? Yes, new TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT. Look, this helps progressive causes. It's also organic and fair trade, so you've got peace of mind that it was done right, and it happens to taste great. So check it out right now at TooStrongCoffee.com/TYT.
That 300 million is a pretty good number, Well, that's the size of the US population. You know what our next target is? The size of the entire world.
We just crossed 5 billion views on YouTube.
I mean, imagine 10 years ago thinking one day.
We looked at you like, are you nuts?
Young Turks has just passed another milestone. 15 billion views.
Damn.
All right, lots of comments. You guys are the best.
I'm gonna read a few comments from our members.
Mr. Methuselah says on YouTube, super chat, thanks for all the important work you do for TYT for the movement.
Do you know who had the first super chat when I got back from vacation? You won't be surprised to find out. Rob Shively. What do you know? Rob says, rejoice, for Dragon Daddy has returned.
This question sent to us by Izzy Sanchez Jr. Is it me, or is Meghan McCain talking as fast as Ben Shapiro? Is that the way the right tries to look smart and intellectual? Well, yes.
Michael Nathan writes it on Twitter. Did Anna choose Cenk's outfit today? I'm sure it wasn't Cenk himself. Man Bun Jenkins Skinny Jeans says, so now Anna has pointed out Okay, that's just handled.
T. Joyce, 1971, saying Donald Trump is good at pulling out of things. NAFTA, the Iran deal, NATO. It's just too bad Fred Trump didn't.
All right, let me do a little quick plug here. It's not even a plug, I'm bragging, okay? I'm bragging, watch me. We have a channel on YouTube, a whole channel devoted just to the Young Turks. It's badass, right? Wow, man.
I can see the void.
You guys are rock stars.
Unbelievable. Senator Sanders, welcome to Rebel Headquarters. Man, you guys are amazing. We gave you what you wanted. Okay. Speaking of shirts.
I have a surprise.
You reached a lot of people. You are the Young Turks. And we have spread that progressive message wide and far. Let's keep it going.
Here's what we do. We go beyond the headline. We are willing to engage in transparent conversations with those who do not think like me. We also make sure that you know what's happening not only nationally, but in your local area. Make sure you tune in to Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Ritchie, Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 11:30 a.m. Pacific Time.
Cool news, shoptyt.com now has books. There's a whole bunch of books there. You're gonna be shocked to find out that they're largely progressive. Of course! Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People, is there. It's fantastic. It's a story from Jesse Jackson to Bernie Sanders to AOC that explains the progressive movement probably better than any book I've ever read. Speaking of awesome books, my dad's got a book out called The Original Young Turk, where he goes from the poorest olive farmer you ever met in your life to living the American dream.
All right, welcome back. We still got a lot of show left. Let me remind everybody, the watch list. I watched the watch list with my big homie, JR, today. On fire, drop mic situation. You can tune in live weekdays, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Find stories you need to pay attention to. News, politics, culture, current events, sports, more. 10-week test series, all right? That's a 10-week test series. Watch live daily and don't forget to subscribe and follow at youtube.com/watchlisttyt and facebook.com/watchlisttyt. Aspiration, okay? Our TYT audience, you've made an impact. TYT Aspiration users have offset over 28.5 million miles. And since 2020, TYT Aspiration users have planted 500,228 trees. That's a lot. And that number continues to grow very fast. Sign up today to be part of that change. Aspiration.com/TYT. Aspiration.com/TYT. Let me read some of these amazing comments. We'll read as many as I can. TYT member Lynn says, according to Trump, don't go after the children. Well, that 42-year-old woman threatening murder at the school board meeting is just a child. Infantry chef, well, Doc, they were obviously in fear and charging a Karen with a felony. I mean, they were terrified. You know, they're calling it the national this and the FBI and the state police. Well, what are we going to do, Jim? Well, I don't know. You're gonna have to charge Karen with a misdemeanor. No. I don't understand it. All right, Lynn. The demonstrators probably thought it was the other candidate speaking, JFK and JFK Jr. Dragging with the girl tattoo. Freedom to kill is what they want. Yeah. Rocket Reindeer. That lady has no clue how much privilege she swims in. Yeah. Okay, from Twitch, Unicorn Dragon. Might be time to start doing citizens arrest. Phoenix 32778. Now, Doc, you know she was going to say that she was just speaking metaphorically. LOL. Yeah. This is about the New Hampshire law. Resto Dragon. Jesus, ivermectin can be horrifically toxic. I would never write a script for ivermectin to treat COVID, ever. And there are restrictions even for those of us who do prescribe drugs from prescribing drugs for off-label use. That's right. It's a livestock drug. That's what it is. In lower dosage, it is utilized to treat skin conditions. But in higher doses, it will kill you or put you in the hospital for a while. All right, real interesting. Politicians are well aware. That's why they want the pharmacist to issue the warning to cover them. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
You're still free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please don't yell at us.
Yeah.
Don't videotape me.
You have no room to yell at us.
I want to speak to the person who made this drink. Is that you?
No, it wasn't
we don't know
you.
who made it, so.
You don't know who made it?
There's 4 of us here, so we honestly don't know.
Stupid ignorant high school kids.
Okay, bye.
I want to speak to the.
Okay, you can call corporate whenever you want. Goodbye.
Gianna, stop. You're on camera. You're on camera.
No, I don't care.
Give it to me right now.
What?
Oh, you're calling the police. I'm calling the police.
I want the telephone.
Gianna,
I want the telephone. Shut the.
Get out. Bye. Okay, good for you. Bye.
I want the.
Bye.
Shut up.
You shut up. You're not gonna tell me to shut up. Who are you? Who are you?
Immigrant loser.
What? Get the out. Get the out. You're going to jail. You're going to jail, you racist piece of
I want the telephone.
Bro, call the police now.
Yeah, those were children that he physically assaulted and tried to gain entry into their workplace behind the counter. Let's put up his mugshot. He has been apprehended. He turned himself in. He's a money man from Merrill Lynch. All right, money guy, right? I got an update to this story. Keep his mugshot up. James Iannazzo, 48 years of age, from Fairfield, Connecticut. James has a mugshot now. He was arrested and faces charges of intimidation based on bias, breach of peace, and criminal trespass. He still has not been charged with assault, even though you clearly saw an assault, already benefiting from his status. He was a managing director at Merrill Lynch. I say it was because they sent this nice little note. Let's put it up. They said, hello, Naveed. My colleagues forwarded your message. Below is an on-the-record comment. Our company does not tolerate behavior of this kind. We immediately investigated and have taken action. This individual is no longer employed at our firm. Now, according to James, put his mugshot up again. He did all of this assaulting of children and being racist and trying to gain entry behind the counter because his son had a reaction to a smoothie, okay? The young lady told him accurately, call corporate. You do not physically assault workers, and in this case, they were teenagers, and then try to fight them by gaining entry behind the counter. But that's exactly what this male Karen did. So we're going to highlight privilege personified. Financial guy, has money, has influence, has status, and now he has a criminal record. But even with the charges, I cannot help but to notice he is not being charged with the actual violent attack that we all saw on video. All right, Aida, thoughts? Are you on mute, sister?
It's exhausting to watch this stuff. It's these people becoming unhinged this way is just, it's really, really sad. And he's a real tough guy, right? A real tough guy. Like went in on these children, these little girls, just going off on these little girls, trying to physically attack little girls. Real tough guy. And this is a person who works at a firm that's managing people's money. And I guarantee you, some of us have money in Merrill Lynch. And this is why we have to hold these corporations accountable for the behavior of the people that they employ, because those are the attitudes of the people who have some semblance of power and can let us in or out of certain things, and are involved in our money, and they're involved in our loans, involved in where we live, the schools that we go to, and we have to start paying attention to where we put our money, because a lot of times, most times, we're funding our own oppression. And I know that sounds extreme, but I'm at the point of extreme because this is extreme behavior. It's just the fact that he thought he could do what he did because he was upset is just, like you said, privilege personified. But it's exhausting. We've been knowing this and seeing this for how long? Our whole lives we've seen this, and people have just been skating through life. And now that people got videos of you acting a fool, and one of you gets held accountable, but there's a sea of them. And that's my issue. Like I'm done with it. I'm not explaining myself to people anymore. I'm not trying to make anybody feel comfortable. We've done that for so long, and look where we are now. They have no problem calling us out of our name. They have no problem trying to belittle us, mistreat us, put their hands on us, and we have to tolerate that, right? But that's it. I'm done with it. I'm not even dignifying that behavior with my attention.
Let me echo what you just said. I don't think it's extreme at all to call it what it is. We are forced in America to actually fund our own oppression, especially as Black and brown people. I need people to understand this. This is a reality in this country. We right now have statues and street names of individuals who were open racist. They were known to be racist. They killed Black people, or they owned Black people, okay? All right? And they wanted to keep that as a legacy in this country. We, through our taxes, we have to pay for that. We have to pay for those statues. We have to pay for the upkeep of those streets. We are literally financing symbols of our own oppression on a daily basis. Daily basis, all right? Okay, I told you this would happen because he never should have made bond in the first place. See that guy? All right, that's Daniel Triplett. Daniel Triplett is accused of killing someone who worked for him and then burying the body, but he still got bond. All right, he got bond. We said it in our original reporting. This guy's not a candidate for bond whatsoever. He got bond. The bond for this Oklahoma businessman charged with murder has now been revoked. Remember, he put a guy who worked for him in a septic tank, okay? Put up the picture, side by side picture. All right, so Daniel Triplett had been out on a $500,000 bond last December 2021 following the alleged murder that took place months before, when Triplett's employee, Brent Mack, that's the African-American male you see, went missing. All right, he went missing. Triplett gets bond. His bond has now been revoked. He landed himself back in jail following Logan County Judge Susan Worthington's ruling on Friday, January 14th, after prosecutors said Triplett was going places he was not allowed to go, including the bank, a restaurant, a gas station. Okay, why would he listen to the judge? He has proven his privilege has no limitation. He has allegedly killed a man who worked for him, lured him. I mean, the way this happened was so planned. Lured him in order to do this and then covered it up, and he still gets bond. All right. According to the conditions of Triplett's bond, the businessman was required to wear an ankle monitor and leave his home for visits with his lawyer, medical appointments, or court dates the DA, Lord Thomas, said a bank teller who knew Triplett had been arrested on murder charges told authorities Triplett was spotted in the bank's drive-through. Good for that bank teller, all right? Let me give you some background to what happened originally. The search for the 50-year-old Brent Mack began after his daughter, Rachel Wilson, reached out to Triplett, the man who's charged with killing him, on Facebook Messenger regarding her father's whereabouts. However, inconsistencies in Triplett's story about when he last saw Mack drew cause for concern. He couldn't get his story together. Triplett initially told authorities that Mack was dropped off in Guthrie, Oklahoma, outside of a laundromat. Well, after firing him from his alleged violent demeanor. Well, that was likely not true. However, officers found several factors that contradicted his story during their investigation into the whereabouts of Mr. Mack, okay? The video showed Triplett driving through the town but never stopping to drop Mack off like he said. Surveillance footage taken from the residence and statements from the homeowners confirmed that both men were together before Mack's disappearance. After working on the septic tank, only Triplett was seen leaving the property, and that is where he stashed the body, according to the prosecution. Cold-blooded, right? Just remember, he went before a judge with all of this evidence against him and still got bond. Now his bond has been revoked. He's where he should be. Let's hope he doesn't get out whatsoever. Aida, thoughts on this one?
So first and foremost, I want to extend to my Black brothers and sisters who constantly have to see a reflection of themselves being murdered and being objectified and dehumanized. And it is constantly everywhere we are. So make sure that we're taking care of ourselves, because that right there triggered me. It made me angry, it made me sad, and it made me want to cry that some young woman is looking for her father and her father is in a septic tank. It just imagine, I mean, the reality of it is that we are arguing with people that our lives matter. We have to have an argument. It's been politicized, it's been taken out of context, it's been used to justify crime, it's been used to we've reached a point of we are in the upside down, as they say in Stranger Things. It is an unreal reality that you have to walk about the earth as a Black person in this country after generations and generations of mistreatment and oppression. And we still have to have a discussion about voting rights. And then you see these kinds of things happen. This man is a businessman in this town, and I guarantee you he has connections with law enforcement. And that's how they take care of each other. And there are never really consequences, because when where does it make sense, right? Make it make sense that a person kills somebody, they abducted them and they murdered them, but they need a pass so that they can go take care of their own business. What you know how many people, Khalid Browder didn't get that opportunity.
Right.
Didn't get that opportunity for a backpack. And this man killed somebody for a backpack, was in jail for 3 years and in solitary confinement. I will never forget the names of all of the people that we've had to see buried, and the mothers who've had to cry because the justice system, the law enforcement are all in cahoots, because it's all rooted and embedded in white supremacy and an oppression. So, yeah. I mean, I just plead for us. We have to take care of ourselves and each other, because we relying on these people to take care of us, and they don't care about us. They say all lives matter when we say Black lives matter, and this is absolutely ridiculous.
Completely ridiculous. And to the point you made about their retort, all lives matter, they only say that when somebody says Black lives matter, it's a way to dissuade you from the argument of Black life in America. But when people say blue lives matter, you never hear them then say all lives matter. That's right. Blue is not a race. Blue comes off as Black does not. Blue is not a culture. Blue is there to protect the culture. That's what it's supposed to do. But it has become its own entity, and an us and them narrative has been created because of the way they decide to exercise their policing rights in America. We got more on the other side. It's indisputable stick and stay.
I'm old enough that I remember when Captain Crunch put the berries in there.
Yay, crunch berries!
And I was like, ooh, the fake berries.
Remember?
We're gonna try that.
We did a story back in the day about how a woman sued, I don't know, General Mills.
She'd been eating it for 4 years,
Right.
believing that it was actual berries. Yeah. She's like, these aren't real berries at all.
Yeah.
I'm like, I got news for you. Captain Crunch isn't really a captain or a person. Joining me now, legendary whistleblower and American hero, Edward Snowden. First question is, hey, where are you?
I'm in my apartment in Moscow.
All of a sudden, in the studio, Jim Gaffigan, everybody.
Mental illness is, completely undiagnosed in our society.
It's not about a particular administration. It's about a broken system of power, and through that, really, the instrumentalization of a system of not justice, but injustice.
People understand whether they claim to deny climate change or not. Our collective house is in crisis. We're also dealing with the legacy of 40 years of economic policies that have made people's lives more precarious.
Sometimes you got to force people into their humanity. Sometimes you have to shake people into empathy.
Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us in the studio.
Healthcare is a basic human right, and we are fighting for basic human rights.
In order to actually achieve that vision of everyone having access to the same resources and getting to determine the outcome of their life, we have a lot of work to do, and it needs to start right now.
Here's something you may not know. When you deposit your money in a big bank, it doesn't just sit, safe and secure, in a vault. Instead, your money could end up building oil pipelines, mining for coal, or drilling in the Arctic. So if you're concerned about the planet, give your money something good to do. Make the move to green with Aspiration's fossil fuel-free account and join the thousands each week who are switching to save their dollars and save the planet at the same time.
Welcome to the Damage Report. I'm John Idarola. This is gonna be a big one.
What Donald Trump has done as president has cut taxes for the wealthy and made life better for rich people. But he's made life worse for poor people.
We're making America great again by throwing more money at the military to destroy other countries, because that makes us great instead of investing it in ourselves.
That it's Donald Trump and it's Stephen Miller. The choosing is based on wanting to create cruel and inhumane conditions to scare other people away from ever coming to the United States.
The opportunity to make money off of tragedy is the American way.
There's only one place to put garbage people: in the trash.
We've never had so much access to so much information with so little idea of what the hell is going on.
What does enforcing our borders have to do with traumatizing children? Absolutely nothing.
I think a sane person could say the current situation we have right now is radical. But what we're doing is literally making the world more like hell. That's a warning sign.
ShopTYT.com now has books. One of them is Ryan Grimm's book, We've Got People. That's a saying that AOC said, they've got money, we've got people. It's the best tracing of the AOC victory I have seen anywhere. It's the most accurate, and it's got great details. The book actually goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson and how he was the original Bernie Sanders. If you want to know how we're going to win going forward, those lessons are super important, and they're in Ryan's book. So check it out right now at ShopTYT.com.
We found the perfect person to lead the army, Allison Hartson.
The establishment media works hand in glove with our corporate legislators, and our corporate legislators work hand in glove with the corporation. And we're going to make it so that it's a decentralized force throughout the country, so that we can quickly identify stories, quickly identify troll farms, and go in and neutralize the enemy, and then start building responsible media throughout the country and on every platform available.
All right, welcome back. We got a lot of show left. Let's get to it. I'm going to read as many comments as I can, but I will not be able to get to all of them. All right. Let's go to TYT member Lynn says, and people wonder why places can't find workers. And we've seen this routinely where people that work in restaurants and service industry, this is how they're being treated by people that patronize the establishment. Quite unfortunate. Robin Seg, me big He-Man, me fight teen girls, see how strong me am. You know, I know some fellas would have let him come behind the counter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They would have said, bring his ass on in here. Let him come in.
Yes.
Unicorn Dragon. Also, this guy's gonna be in jail for this ish. Yeah. He has a mugshot now. Fat guy named Tiny says, big man trying to hawk out some teenagers. Teenager girls at that. You just gotta think about what would make an adult so mad that they will throw an object to hit somebody else's child. I don't know what you think this is. You know, that child has parents, probably a brother, right? But your privilege is just so unbelievable in that moment. This has become the way you handle an argument or a conflict or debate about a smoothie. Okay. All right. You know, white nationalists are going door to door evangelizing people. Here it is.
Can I help you?
Good afternoon. We are white nationalists, and we're going around hoping to talk to people about things white people in the United States. I hope just to have a few minutes to talk about that.
Did you say you're a white nationalist?
We're not interested, thank you.
No worries. Ma'am, do you think we could leave a flyer for you? Hey, you guys have a good day. Thanks for your time.
I mean, Jim Crow got manners. Yeah, this is what's happening right now. White nationalists are knocking on your door saying, hey, you know, we're white nationalists and we just want to talk to you for a minute. The man at the home did not reject them. It was his wife. His wife is the one who said, we're not interested. And then that's when they go into, well, listen, can we leave some information for you? You know who used to do this door-to-door recruiting? The Klan, the KKK did the exact same thing. They went door to door. Why? Because it was acceptable in their culture to do so. Well, look at that. It's come back around. Let me give you some insight to this. A recent surge in white nationalism in the United States has led to a growing threat of violence by factions that embrace bloodshed and advocate for a race war. According to a report released Wednesday by an organization that tracks far-right extremists. The Southern Poverty Law Center's annual report on extremist groups said its count of white nationalist groups has risen by 55%. White nationalist groups espouse white supremacist or white separatist ideologies, often focusing on the alleged inferiority of non-whites. Groups listed in a variety of other categories, the KKK, Ku Klux Klans, neo-Confederates, neo-Nazis, racist skinhead and Christian identity, could also be fairly described as white nationalists. So you're probably wondering, what did the brochure look like? Well, we got a picture of it, let's put it up. Here's the brochure, okay? They didn't even spend the extra 2 cents at FedEx, Kinko's, wherever they got this done to put the color version on. Oh, that's right, they don't like color. I forgot about that. So this is the black and white version of the brochure, all right? It tells you to end systemic racism, you gotta be pro-white. In order to end racism in America, you must be pro-white. We have another graphic of it, yeah? End anti-white discrimination. And it reads, keep it up, are you tired of being discriminated against by schools and employers while simultaneously being told that you have white privilege? Living in fear that you will lose your job because of an accusation of racism? hearing politicians constantly talk about all they have done for blacks, Hispanics, LGBTQ community, etc., but never what they have done for white people. And the list goes on. Let me say this, bring this to me. I'm actually happy. Let me tell you why I'm happy. Because you white supremacist cowards are exposing yourselves for who you truly are. A bunch of damn crybabies. You can't deal with life on life's terms. That's why you had to fix it. You had to fix the rules to benefit you. You can't really compete, or you're afraid of competing on an even playing field. It terrifies you for rules to be fair, for opportunities to be equitable, for access to be complete. That frightens you. The notion of that terrifies you. But we're coming. We're not gonna let up. So you going around knocking on doors, trying to recruit more individuals to your cause tells me that you're desperate. That you're desperate for validation, you're desperate for support, you're desperate. Your desperation will only get worse. And hopefully this government will deal with you in the way they should. Aida, thoughts?
Man, I thought that was a Jordan Klepper sketch. Like I thought it was a joke. It's really it's surreal that in 2022, young white males. I mean, I work in an industry that's dominated by white men, and I always have to hear white men tell me how you have to be a diverse person in order to get a television show or to run a television show. But me being the creature that I am, I go research all the TV shows that are on air, and 98% of them are ran by white men. So it really, this alleged push for diversity and inclusion, which in some spaces is only this performative act to appear as though they're creating diversity and inclusion, but the equity hasn't changed. Visibility has changed. You show people that you are in business with people of color or whatever, but the reality of it is that when you see white people having a temper tantrum like this, it is rooted in what you said, because a lot of the stuff really hasn't changed. We are still trying to fight for being treated right by the justice system. We're still trying to get fair loans to buy homes. We are still hoping that we can get good school systems in our neighborhoods. So when you hear these people having a tantrum because they say that they are not being treated equally for jobs and opportunities, and then you look at go look at IBM's roster.
Yeah.
Go look at all the rosters. Look at all the billionaires. Look at all the CEOs. What are you whining about? You will never be a CEO because you're going door to door asking people to join you to be in a white supremacist group. That's why you're not succeeding, not because somebody took your opportunity away from you.
Yeah.
I gotta read 2 books to your 1 so that I can just get a morsel of what is given to you that you have inherited by the sweat of the brow of my ancestors. How dare you?
Well said, very well said. I told everyone that these anti-critical race theory laws do not impact the teaching of critical race theory. CRT is not even in the bill, but it has hurt a black charter school in Texas. This is part of the intent of the bill. So let me highlight what has happened to Essence Preparatory Charter School. Let's put up a graphic of the school. Let me explain how this went down. This school is designed with its predominantly black and brown students in mind. We want to create a space where black and brown students will not only be stable but can thrive, said the school's CEO and founder, Akeem Brown, who's 29 years of age. Let's put up a picture of Mr. Brown. That's a smart guy, has the right idea, wants to create safe spaces for our young children to succeed. Brown says opening his own school has always been a dream of his, And in January 2021, his dream was coming close to a reality when he submitted the application to the Texas Education Agency, T, for final approval. Everything was going as planned. But they were caught in the middle of an ongoing debate surrounding critical race theory. I think this is a good point for me to say what I always say. Critical race theory is not taught in K through 12 education. Critical race theory is not part of the curriculum whatsoever. It is an advanced theoretical framework designed for teaching at advanced collegiate levels, including law schools, not taught in K through 12 education. The purpose of these anti-CRT bills was to simply stop the teaching of actual history as it relates to America's racism. That was the idea, and that idea is working. Brown said in an interview with Atlanta Black Star, he said, and I quote, "I think we got caught in it because of the color of my skin, because of the color of the individuals who make up my board. My board is 65% African American. We aim to serve about 40% black children in our community," Brown said, explaining why he feels his application triggered the T flag, which is the Texas Education Agency. They flagged his application for further review, citing concerns related to what? CRT. Once again, critical race theory is not even in the legislation passed by the state of Texas that did not stop the agency from saying this is related to concerns about critical race theory. You can't make this up. The agency wanted Brown to remove anti-racist text within the school's equity statement. They asked us to remove the word anti-racist. What? And they asked us to remove any words from that author, Brown said. The agency also wanted Brown to clarify his meaning of phrases like public policy driven approach, public policy advocacy program, and community actions. Brown admitted he treaded carefully to avoid his application being rejected. I don't think it mattered what I responded with. So unfortunately, I sucked up my pride and took away what we believe to be bold commitments to launching a school in our community. He had to compromise. He felt he needed to compromise. None of these books are controversial. Anti-racism means you're against racism. Why in the world would something saying that I'm anti-racist be a problem unless the board that regulates you is pro-racism? You see how that works? That's the only way you would have an issue with anti-racist curriculum or the terminology public policy advocacy program. They literally told him you have to provide additional clarity to public policy driven approaches. What? You have to provide clarity to a board for that. Brown admits he shed tears throughout the approval process, but the application was finally approved after the compromises by the State Board of Education. That was their intent. After being caught in the controversial CRT debate, Brown says what kept him and his team motivated were the 360 students and their parents who are relying on Essence Preparatory to open. The school is expected to open August 15th. And let me give a word of advice to the teachers and administrators. I know there's a rule in Texas, there's a new law basically prohibiting you with a public charter from teaching actual history. Break the law. Break it. Do it. Teach history. Teach the truth. People like me got your back. Not only through platform and commentary, but I will help you financially. And many people would do the exact same. But somebody, some school teacher, some school is going to have to stand up to this foolishness and buck the damn system. That's my advice. All right, Ida, thoughts?
I mean, Texas never fails to entertain, from Ted Cruz to sundown towns. We just are constantly getting the juice and the tea from Texas. You know, I always say I'm one of those people that feels like integration is the worst thing that happened to my ancestors. But then you think about the fact that Black people in this country and Black people in other places that were trying to build things after being free their stuff was pounced on and destroyed by envious white people who also were mediocre. And I just think about all of the stuff that's happening that we've covered on the show today, the white nationalists, all of this stuff is happening, but they won't leave us alone, right? They won't leave us alone. They won't let us be. And that's what I'm bothered with. You say you don't want to be around me. I don't want to be around white people that don't like me. I appreciate you telling me that you don't want to be around me. What I have a problem with you is you trying to take the spoon out of my mouth when I'm working for my own food. And that is the problem that I'm having with this. And it's just disheartening to see that now you want to erase history. You know how hard it was for us as children, me in particular, to have to think of myself that my ancestors sold themselves into slavery. That was what was taught to me, right? Yep. But I never hear about the glorious people of my past. So to these people, I just say congratulations, and I'm with you. Break the law, because if we don't know history, we are bound to repeat it.
That's right, and that's their idea on the other side. They want to keep you ignorant. You can't change what you fail to acknowledge. You can't change what you fail to know. All right. Steve Bannon says that in 2022, after the victory of the GOP, they're going to then go ahead and arrest Joe Biden. Here it is.
And you have stood down ICE and you've stood down Border Patrol. And guess what? That's the impeachment hearing I want to hear. Because we're not going to do your crap with all these guys from the National Security Council on the first time or the phone call that did this. No, you're going to sit there for day after day and week after week. And we're going to bring the witnesses. We're going to bring the witnesses of what you did to this country and what you did on the southern border. Preserve your documents. Because after impeach you, then we're going to put you up on criminal charges. Criminal charges for allowing this country to be invaded by your actions. Acts of commission, not acts of omission, acts of commission. And we're not going to back down, so write it down. This November is about one thing. It's impeaching Joe Biden to stop this madness and to stop this illegitimate regime from destroying our nation.
Now, here's the thing. Steve Bannon, he's a coward. He won't bust the soft side of a grape. But the people listening to him, believe in his words because he's a charlatan and a con artist. They believe his words are accurate and that this is what's going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, they may attempt to do this. If they win, they may attempt to do it. But if it doesn't happen, he has successfully radicalized his side, given them red meat, and now they feel justified when they try to overthrow the government again, okay? It is what it is. This is the era we live in. Ida, how do you feel about what Bannon has said?
You know what? It's a clown show, and I'm still laughing at what you said about him and a grape.
He ain't gonna do a damn thing.
It's the dog and pony show, as the great Malcolm said. I am, like I said, and I will continue to say, nobody insults white poor people in this country more than these white rich people who are getting richer off of them. Donald Trump sold them $30 hats and t-shirts. Yeah. And these people are struggling, and they don't realize that this CRT argument, everything that they throw out at them is a great distraction from what is really happening to them. Because if you look at what's happened in the last few years, the conditions of working class people and poor people in this country have gotten worse. We are dealing with inflation, a lack of opportunity of where to live, jobs. The minimum wage is insulting and ridiculous, and those people are doing just fine. From Steve Bannon to Donald Trump to every single one of them, they got what they need in their house, and you are fighting a fight for peanuts. And the reason you have peanuts is because they have their foot on your neck.
My dear sister, always when I'm with you, I feel privileged. I'm thankful for your leadership. Tell people how they can follow you and check out your great work.
You can follow me on Twitter at FunnyAida, and my special is streaming right now on HBO Max. It's called Fighting Words, and the revolution will not be televised.
Preach it. Thank you, sister.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we got more on the other side. The bullpen is next. Stick and stay.
Every day, the Young Turks delivers 2 hours of solid, fact-based, timely news and progressive commentary on all the day's most important stories. We keep our viewers informed while also providing perspective and insight on the news we cover, so you understand not only what's happening, but also what's happening behind the scenes, the stories behind the stories. Gee, I wonder why we didn't get $15 minimum wage. Because they're all raising money from the guys who don't want to increase the minimum wage.
And we play musical chairs and put these children in one awful detention facility to the next. That's what's happening at the border.
The things that got him banned, he's still spreading. So presumably, I think it's reasonable to say that if you allow him back on the website, he's going to do it again.
Any legal voter that we deem not willing to vote for my side shouldn't vote because it'll replace me that's supposed to vote for my side. That's not how voting works. That's not how democracy works.
And while many people following today's political news can get discouraged about the direction of the nation and the world, that's not us. At TYT, we're genuinely optimistic about the future, and with good reason. Today, wide majorities of Americans agree with our progressive stances on issues ranging from healthcare and education to climate, immigration, and wages. The rising generation of young people are also overwhelmingly progressive in their political beliefs and policy objectives, and they're increasingly flexing their muscle as voters and activists to demand change from our elected officials. The traditional mainstream media is mostly AWOL. They, along with the government and many other cherished institutions, have been captured by corporate interests. Audiences sense that they're not getting the whole story or even the truth from once trusted outlets, whether broadcasting cable TV news networks or national newspapers and magazines. The Republicans say we will serve our corporate masters at all costs, including killing democracy, yet here we are. Where else do you hear that? You hear that on NBC, on ABC, on CBS? You hear it nowhere.
They don't want to talk about money in politics because it's really hard to pass judgment when your media organization is funded by fossil fuel companies.
The antidote is the Young Turks. Unlike mainstream corporate outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, the defense contractors, the Wall Street, or the big pharma. And we don't carry water for the Republican or Democratic parties. So watch us Monday to Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and join the thousands of progressives around the globe who tune in every day for TYT's unmatched, award-winning content and see what it's like to experience a news organization that only answers to you.
I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed.
The president labeled him a son of a bitch.
I don't think it's good to be a distraction to your team.
To stand proudly for the national anthem.
You know, some of these people need to move to another country.
Well, you shouldn't be playing. You shouldn't be there. Maybe you shouldn't be in the country.
The president is put in place to amplify the racists in this country.
Black men and boys are killed at an exponentially higher rate than white men and boys, as outlined by PBS. Black people are most likely to be killed by police, found mappingpoliceviolence.org. Personally, my biggest gripe is not saying how sports and politics have been attached at the hip. From the jockey syndrome, to the Negro Leagues, to Tommy Smith and John Carlos, Muhammad Ali, to modern day and everything in between. This is not an escape. It is a reflection of reality and a reflection of the times.
Everything that we've accomplished over the years is because of our members who've allowed us to remain independent of corporate interests and reach 20 million followers. Now is the time to bring as many people into the progressive movement as possible. We're inviting you to be the change and help bring a community-powered progressive change machine to life. Details are at tyt.com/change. If you're a member, thank you. We need you to remain so. If you're one of the thousands of viewers out there who's not a member yet, the time has come for you to join now. We need you more than ever. tyt.com/change.
All right, welcome back. We still got a lot of show left. Let me just get right into it. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the bullpen. Yeah, he's back. We got Joe Collins III, impressive resume. He's running for the US House of Representatives in California's. It was 43rd, but because of redistricting, it is now going to be the 36th district that he will run in. Mr. Collins, good to have you on the show. Welcome back. How are you?
I'm extremely blessed. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you being on the program as always. We're going to chop it up about the voting rights bill, the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about that act, so I will give you an opportunity to tell us your sentiment.
Well, I think that there are a lot of great things in the bill, and there's a lot of things that I don't like about the bill as well. I think it's good. They're kind of getting involved in campaign finance, and I think campaign finance is one thing that a lot of people are ignoring when it comes to this bill. But in my opinion, I think the bill is more swayed towards allowing an opportunity for illegal immigrants to vote. I'm looking at the bill when I read, about 800 pages. They talking about any person who have any type of interaction with federal or state governments will automatically be registered to vote. And that draw concern for me. Register 16 and 17-year-olds. I think that's repugnant to the Constitution that states that you have to reach the age majority before you can participate in any type of decision making for young people. And so on and things of that nature. But the opportunity for felons to vote, I was really excited when I read that in the bill because a lot of people don't believe that because you're a felon, you get to participate. But I mean, you did the crime and you paid your time, and now it's time for you to get back acclimated in the United States in every single aspect, including voting, especially if you're going back to work and paying taxes. It is for you, it's specifically for you. So those are just a few of my thoughts from what I gathered from the bill.
Okay, so let me give you some correction on a few things. One, the age of majority as it is listed in the Constitution, what is that age?
It's supposed to be 18 years old, or whenever you're emancipated from your mother and father.
All right, so that's untrue. The Constitution utilizes the terminology age of majority, which back at the time of the written Constitution was much lower than it is today. As a matter of fact, that is a state statute. And there are some states that had it set as low as 16. Other states pushed it to 18, but it depends on what the state says the age of majority is. So while it is constitutional, the terminology age of majority, the Constitution leaves it up to the state to define age of majority. The bill, the John Lewis Voting Rights, the Voting Advancement Act does not allow for undocumented individuals to vote in federal elections. But I will provide one nuance to your credit. Local jurisdictions, cities, municipalities, which are incorporated basically as private companies. Municipalities do have the right by way of their charter and statute. They do have the right to allow undocumented individuals to vote, and they have the right to allow 16-year-olds to vote. Multiple cities already do it. As a matter of fact, many people live in a city right now that allows it. They just don't know it because it's not promoted, but it's contextualized in the charter of that city. But it's not in this particular federal bill. To the campaign finance portion, when we talk about campaign finance, Joe, what we're really talking about is the corruption of corporate money. Corporate money has corrupted politics in the United States of America. And the framers of the Constitution and even the early political leaders, as racist as they were, they realized that corporations would corrupt politics, and it was against the law for a corporation to give money to a political leader or somebody seeking political office. Well, fancy firms got their lobbyists and they chipped away at the law so much so that we're running around America calling corporations people. Now you have to agree with me, Joe, that is insanely inaccurate and it is corrupted, it has corrupted the political culture of America. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would. You can't deny that because it's absolutely true. And the voting was never meant for corporations; it was meant for the people. And I was a little perplexed when the courts allowed corporations to be labeled as people when it came to voting.
But Joe, these are your people. Here's the thing, man. And every time we have this conversation, brother, I try to get you to see the light. Democrats aren't much better. But at least they're in the ballpark of some of the common sense that you have. People who are left leaning in their politics would typically say, listen, corporations, they need to be limited, right? People that are on the right, conservative ideology says, no, they need to have more powers. Their powers need to be expanded. You stand against that. You're more so left leaning when it comes to that. You're also left leaning when it comes to individuals who have committed a crime, served their time, being able to vote again. You and I completely agree on that, because it's like saying, wait a minute. So you're telling me a person continues to pay taxes, they continue to work, they continue to live in America, but they can no longer participate in democracy. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. But Joe, you're on the wrong political side with the party you represent.
Man, I absolutely hear what you're saying. And I don't think it's a political party thing. I think it's more of an idealist thing. And like I've said before, people who have never lived in my neighborhood or my community don't have that experience from my community. I mean, Mitch McConnell said himself, the Republican Party does really good with white voters. And unfortunately, you do have Black people who want to participate on both Democrat, Republicans, the party. And I think that the party have to be inclusive to all ideologies. I mean, especially if we're talking about moving forward as the United States together, and that's what it's all about. But that the Democrats and Republicans have had a long history of not being able to work together, and I think it's hurt the American people more than it's hurt everybody else.
Brother, let me bring something to your attention. 15 years ago, the United States Senate voted on voting rights. They voted on a voting rights bill. 98 of those senators voted the same way. They voted the same way. They supported it. It was bipartisan. There's nothing controversial about it. Now, we still have a handful of those senators who are currently serving. All of the Republicans stand against the voting rights bill today, even though they once supported it back 15, 16 years ago. My point to you is this: Republicans, they are standing in the way of progress, in particular for Black people. So I understand the argument that we have to get outside of the box or the boxes of Democrats and Republicans, but let's get inside of the narrative about Black people or historically disenfranchised people in America. You know what I know, Joe, there needs to be a voting rights bill voted upon because the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and said Congress needs to pass a law. Well, here's the law. You got the John Lewis Act. That's the law. What does it do? Increase transparency by requiring reasonable public notice for changing the voting policies. That was the Supreme Court's ruling back in the 1960s. Grant the Attorney General the authority to request the presence of federal observers. Once again, something that is common sense. Third, implement best practices and require federal approval for policies that impact the ability to cast a ballot. These things are common sense measures that used to apply to states that had historical issues dealing with discrimination in voting. So why is it that 100% of Republicans that vote on this stuff, why are they adversarial to what you believe?
I have no idea, but I think
you know good and damn well why, Joe. The reason is because they know they offer no solutions to those groups who would vote their ass out of office. And so they want to select the voters because they are afraid of the voters selecting them. You know, Joe.
Well, I think that partially true. I mean, we can go back to the 2020 election where the Republicans gave up all of the urban areas, the high dense populated areas, and the Republicans took the rural areas, and the Democrats took the urban areas because that's where the most people are. And so, they might be afraid of getting voted out of office. And I say this all the time. I'm a huge proponent of get in there and do your job. If you want those voters, get in there and show them the type of leadership that you feel they deserve, or the type of leadership that you aren't allowed people to decide. Now, when it comes to, in my opinion, Black people being discriminated against and voting, I can't say that based on the idea that people want it to be more convenient for voting. I feel like, in this last election, we had a lot of issues in our election and people had a lot of complaints. Now, when it comes to passing any type of legislation, in my opinion, I think both in the Senate and the US House of Representatives, the Democrats and the Republicans have to agree to work together to find some type of legislation that's going to be beneficial for both sides. I mean, right now, the Democrats are getting legislation, they're getting legislation trying to get it passed, but the Republicans are not on the table with those legislations.
Joe, let me just ask you some simple, direct voting questions. Sure. Should people be able to vote on Sunday if the local jurisdiction allows it?
Absolutely, yeah.
The Republican bills that have passed eliminate Sunday voting, which was branded as souls to the polls, primarily done by what church? The black church, right? So that's an issue. Number two, Senate Bill 202 out of Georgia makes it a misdemeanor crime to give somebody water or a snack while standing in line. Even Lindsey Graham went on Fox News and said he doesn't understand where that part of the bill came from. He thought it was silly, right? Well, there's a reason, there's a design to it, Joe, because well over 90% of the precincts in Metro Atlanta that have historically long lines, guess what? They're in black neighborhoods. And the election cycle before, commercials ran on television saying, hey, we know the lines are gonna be long, but if you come out, endure the lines, we're gonna make sure you have water, you have a chair, you have a snack. But they made that now a criminal offense, brother. You see the racism involved in the statute, do you not?
I don't necessarily know if I would call that racism because I have to compare it to California where you can't do it at all. I mean, the polling lines, the voting lines along in California, obviously it's more considerably hotter in climate in Georgia sometimes when it comes to voting. But in California, opposition parties are not allowed to be within so many hundreds of feet of the polling location. But that's not the rule, Joe. Listen to me, brother. It's already against the law to electioneer. So you can't represent a campaign or provide election material while someone is standing in line. That's already against the law. What they have now done is made it illegal for churches or nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations to give mama them water or a snack while they're standing in line. That's what's illegal now under that Senate bill provision that's called a voter restriction bill. And once again, over 90% of the long lines in Georgia are connected to black neighborhoods. That is racist in its expression. Do you not agree? Well, I think that Georgia has a lot of bills that passed that is going to be beneficial for those people. But I don't think I would necessarily not give people water who are standing in lines. I think that's I think it's plain ridiculous in my opinion. But if that's who Georgia elected to pass bills for them, I think that Georgia has a lot of voting to do in these upcoming elections.
All right, brother. Let me say this, man, because you're a good person. All right, you're misguided on some political things, but you're a good person. You're on a ship that will never allow you to drive. They will never let you drive that ship, brother. You will never be able to turn this ship around. You will float your ass to the deep, and they will throw you overboard at some point. Joe, you have to consider the position that they are putting you in, brother. I didn't put you in this position. You know this stuff doesn't sit right with you. At some point, you have to make a decision before you get out in the deep with these folks. Are you going to jump off the ship and swim ashore? Are you going to do that? Are you open to doing that?
I'll tell you this, I'm the guy in the kayak. I never made it on the ship. I didn't get any support from the Republican Party, man. This is a choice that I decided to make and a choice that I decided to fight, on my own, because somebody's gonna have to fight for something on some team at some times, and like I say all the time, we're gonna need allies on both sides of the political spectrum.
All right, brother. Hold Republicans accountable to some of your common sense ideology. Absolutely. Always a pleasure having you on the show. All
right, thanks, man. You too.
All right. Let me remind everybody the conversation today. Also, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.